everybody, in this video we're going to talk about how to multiply decimals. So when you multiply decimals, there's two different ways you can do it. The first method is to use the fraction approach, and the second method is to use the place value approach. So with the fraction method, the way that you do it is you write each of the decimals as a fraction. So this first decimal, the last place value is the hundredths place value, so that would be the number in my denominator. And then I would have 258 hundredths. And if I multiply this by 14 tenths, because this last place value is the tenths place value, remember that when you multiply fractions, you don't have to have common denominators. You just multiply straight across. So I'm going to use my calculator to multiply 258 times 14, and that gives me 3,612 over 100 times 10 is 1,000. And again, when you're teaching this to your students, you wouldn't use a calculator. You would actually go through and calculate out 258 times 14 by hand. But I'm just using a calculator for the sake of time. And if we get the answer 3,612 divided by 1,000 or over 1,000, then that tells me that my last decimal place is going to be the thousandths place value. And I'm going to have 2 thousandths, 10 thousandths, which converts into 100th, 600 thousandths, which translates into 6 tenths, and then 3,000 thousandths, which is just 3 wholes. And so the fraction method gives us this answer. The other method is to use the place value method, where you basically take both of the numbers and you ignore the decimal points. So you kind of think about them as whole numbers, like 258 times 14, and you multiply them together without the decimals. So like you'd say 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 will be 23, carry the 2, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10. And then that basically is 4 copies of 258. Then I need to make 10 copies of 258. So I'll put a 0 in here as a placeholder because 10 copies of 8 will be 80, 10 copies of 50 will be 500, and 10 copies of 200 will be 2,000. When I add my 4 copies to my 10 copies, I get 2 ones, 11 tens, and 10 of those can be converted into 100, then 6 hundreds and 3 thousandths. And that is basically what 258 times 14 is. And then you look at how many decimal places there were in the original problem. So we had 2 decimal places multiplied by 1 decimal place. So we have a total of 3 decimal places. And so that means that we're going to place our decimal 3 decimal places into the number. And you can see when we do that, that we get the same answer we got when we did the fraction method. And actually, these two methods are very related to each other because this process of multiplying 258 times 14 is basically figuring out the numerator of the fraction. And then moving the decimal over 3 times is accounting for the fact that 100 times 10 equals 1,000. And so we need to have 3 decimal places in our answer. So that's the way that the fraction and place value methods work for multiplication. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you guys have a great day.